Yo, what it is. So, how doth thine hammer hang, claw up? So, updates. Here's where we're at. Cheers. So, spoke to the machinist on, what was it? Monday or Tuesday? Helps if you can hear me. So, spoke to the machinist on Monday or Tuesday this past week, or earlier this week, which I did my last update on, and we were looking like maybe it was that last weekend. I don't know. If you go back and look at the last video, I was supposed to have parts midweek this week, which was 2 days ago. So I called on Tuesday to find out what's going on. He says, I'm going to call, let me find out. Don't hear from him on Wednesday because of all of his meetings and whatnot. Talked to him yesterday. Yesterday, he tells me that he talked to the vapor polishing company and they were having some kind of issue with batch size and how many they could process at one time, and they didn't know it was going to take them so long, and wham, 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 blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, okay, what's the new word? He says, well, he said they told me that they could ship some and I could have them today, or they could wait and they could ship them all on today, and they should be to my machinist on Monday or Tuesday this coming week. I said, okay, well, where are you at with the rest of the stuff that you're doing? He said, I'm pretty much done. I got a handful of decks left, but I've got over 300 done. I'm like, okay. Is that all we're waiting on? He said, I'm not really worried. I'm still waiting on the laser stuff, but I'm not really worried about that because he's local to me and I can lean on him and it's not that big a deal. I said, okay. So by the time, if we wait and ship it all together, by the time everything shows up to you, you should have everything done on your end, right? He said, yeah, pretty much. Might not have every single last deck done because those things take a while, and we know that. That's no big deal. But I'll have more than I've got now. He's already got enough done for me to cover all the open orders. He will without a doubt have them all finished by the time I will need or be getting to the last of the orders, because it's going to take me a while to get through shipping anyway. So now it's going to be looking like he'll get the stuff on probably Monday or Tuesday. He'll go through it, make sure it's up to his standards. And then I should be able to get it Wednesday or Thursday next week, which most likely means I'll probably pick it up on Friday. Unless I can get the wife to go up there for me and pick stuff up during the day sometime. She's not scheduled to take Jackson up there for anything next week, so it would be a special trip for her. Which I'm pretty sure probably wouldn't be that big a deal. You know, there's stores in Lynchburg in that area that she likes to go to anyway, so you know, maybe they can make a day of it. I don't know. So that's where we are on the V4. Yesterday, that went up, and it's about 75 feet in the direction I'm facing right now, away from where I am right this second. It's done, it's up. Spray foam guy who did the lovely work you see behind me on the walls should be here next Friday, a week from today, to foam that one. Turns out he can foam it for about the same price I can buy the foam kits, the DIY kits, for to do it myself. So it makes no sense for me to fight that shit and do it and try to get something done with, you know, the homeowner DIY kit when he can do it for the same money. It'll be a better job, and he has to deal with all the stuff and the parts and the chemicals and the machines and all that. It's on him. So he's going to do that next week. Probably the following week is when I'll start trying to get the electricity done. After that, I'll be able to move from here to there. So probably the next step after the electricity will be to get the desk, inventory storage system installed over there. Once that's done, I'm going to start getting the machinery I have in here over there and set up. And then I've got to figure out what I'm going to do with the machines that I need to bring in to be able to run production. So that's probably going to be the biggest ball of wax headache that will happen with that. And that's the big deal, because that's going to be the make it or break it type of thing. So we'll see how it all goes. But when it comes to the V4, I should have those parts next week. Again, I'm at the mercy of everybody else, so I could be coming back with the exact same story next week. Hopefully not. Hopefully the next time, you know, you get an update, it'll be a me standing over there building tanks update. So I don't know, we'll see. If you have an open order for something you're waiting on that's not a V4, I'm sorry it hasn't shipped out yet. It's buried in like 400 V4 orders. So there's that. I am going to try to go through this weekend and tidy things up a bit. I was hoping I could ship everything, you know, grouped so that shipping costs would be a little bit lower and all that, but I'm probably just going to go through and pick out the stuff that I do have on hand and I can ship, and go ahead and ship it. That way it's on its way and you'll have it. Shout out to Julie, because I got some mini mats in the mail today, and I was like, holy crap, what? Look at these things. So they're little, I don't have them out here yet, but they're sort of like they're like this sort of ratio, right? So they're kind of long and skinny, but they're cool too, because they're smaller than the full-on vape mats, and you can put them in places that vape mats probably won't fit. So I've got a spot picked out. I'm gonna put one. I think I'm gonna put one in the bedroom on my side of the sofa on the end table, and there. So there's the updates. That's what I got going on. I can't really think of anything else right off the top of my head that I haven't mentioned. So if anybody has any questions, fire away. Let me know. No, not the Mod Pods, Josh. They're actually like iPad size mats. Finally finish that off. Hey Steven, how are you doing? I'm stressed. I'm stressed to the max. Because the more I look for CNC equipment, the more stressed I get because the prices for new stuff is astronomical. Yeah, watch it back. I launched right into the update. So the first like 2 or 3 minutes. Where does it show me how many minutes I've gone so far? 14. Yeah, probably the first 10 minutes is update. Yes, Robert Befford. I will probably make more mods in the future. I just don't know how far out into the future those will go. So what'll probably happen is I will corner my brother, who is a sort of like an applications engineer for Akuma, who makes well, kind of sort of for Akuma. He works for a company that mainly sells those machines, so he knows all the ins and outs specifically on those. And I found a few of those up for sale used, and I want to get his input. So I'll probably corner him this weekend over the Mother's Day holiday. Hug your mamas. You wouldn't be here without her. And find out from him what he thinks, which way I should go, because I can save a boatload of cash if I get used versus new. Problem is I don't get the support that comes with new, so that's kind of where I'm stressing. I don't know if it's worth it for the support or the cost savings. So I mean, it helps that my brother does what he does, because I'm hoping if I do run into an issue, he'll be able to help me out with it. Problem is all the equipment he's used to using or dealing with is the newer stuff, and everything I'm looking at is 20 years old. So we'll see. Jackson's MRI showed no changes, which I take as a win and a good thing. But that's just us trying to interpret what was written in the report. He goes back on Monday, I believe, to meet with his neurosurgeon for the actual interpretation. So what do you mean, Kenny? If I buy a Kuma, spend? I'm not sure. I'm not sure how to read that. I kind of started looking at the Kumas because the money. Oh, spend the money and do it right. So there's the sort of the problem. spend the money and do it right can be construed a couple of different ways. So I can get the same functionality out of a 20-year-old machine as I do a new machine. It's just that the controls are a little different. It's not as pretty, but it's still a trio of servos and a spindle motor. I have no doubts that he can dial it in, take any backlash out of it, adjust any slop that might be in there because it's an older machine, or simply replace lead screws and jam nuts and ways and linear guides and stuff like that. The older machines tend to be a little more sturdy because those use box ways instead of linear guides. Linear guides are a little more accurate. Box ways are a little stronger. So it's like, yeah, what do you do? You know, that's why I want to corner him and find out, you know, which way I should be looking. Because he'll be able to tell me, yeah, this is garbage, don't mess with that. Or, yeah, we still make parts for those so we can get the stuff you need and blah, blah, blah. So I'm not going to pull a trigger until I've got as much input as I can get, because it's almost to the point where I could either pay off my house or buy the machines. You know, and if I buy them outright, then I'm left with no operational capital. So I'm probably going to finance the machines, which is going to cost, if I go with new machines and small machines, not even holy shit machines, just the small enough to do what I needed to do, I'm looking at like 3 times my mortgage a month. So yeah, no, Kenny, I'm not going to do 5-axis. I'm going to most likely either all right, so the original thought is to have a lathe, CNC lathe, as a first op process to feed the mill. So the lathe would turn everything it can turn on the decks and everything else, and then if it needs mill work, it would go into the mill and be fixtured in there, and you know, all that. It occurs to me today that I could probably buy a bunch of tool holders for the mill, load the carousel up with tool holders holding deck blanks, and use the mill as a lathe and do it that way. It will give me similar finishes, basically the same finish. I would just be using the mill sort of as a lathe, as a vertical lathe, which is it is done. It's not common, but it is done. It can be done. There's a little bit of extra thought processing that goes into setting that thing up like that, but it's doable, and it would let me end up with the same result from one machine. So that's a possibility. It's something that just occurred to me today, so it's probably something I need to research a little bit more, but it's out there. So you know. Gringo, you didn't miss much, man. The update's going to be in the first 5 to 10 minutes of the video. So I tend to try to do the updates as soon as possible in the video so people don't have to sit through the rambling back and forths, the Q&A type stuff. So, you know, once you hear the update, you can close the video and move on, or hang out and watch the Q&A and maybe pick up some tidbits or whatever. So, but yeah, so when the machines get here, you're gonna see a lot more activity on my Patreon. You're gonna see a lot of behind the scenes stuff. You're gonna be seeing a lot of the support me on Patreon to see this post kind of thing happening in Facebook, in the group. You're probably going to see a lot of private videos, I think, is how that works on my YouTube. You'll see that start to happen. You know, it's gonna eventually turn into a massive help during the times where I'm not really able to ship much because I'm working on the next run, so I don't have a lot of revenue coming in to be able to keep all that stuff running. So I'm gonna have to lean on the Patreon support for that. I'll probably end up naming the machines or putting plaques on the machines for those that support. I don't know. We'll see how that works out. But I think right now I'm looking at probably around 60 grand just in machinery to get that in here. And that's used machinery on the cheap. That's not counting any fixturing, any work holding, any tool holding, any tooling, any of that stuff. That's just the machines themselves and the phase converter to power them. Again, that's the low end. I could buy one new machine for around that. A little more actually, but just depends on the brand and all that. So that's where I'm at right now. Sweating that like crazy. But that's gonna be at least a couple of months away, I think. Yeah, that's eBay, Kenny. That's why. Don't be expecting to see any kind of DMG Mori sitting in my shop. It's not happening. You know, that's just asinine. Haas UMCs aren't coming in here because that's just kind of pointless. I mean, they don't really have the bed size for me to fixture a lot of parts at one time. I am considering a 4th axis setup for the machine now because it would allow me to hold a bunch of these things in a row on the 4th axis. So they'd be sitting there like this, and then they would be able to rotate, and I'd be able to do all the side work, and then I'd be able to rotate, and I'd be able to do all the side work without having to take it off the thing and clamp it again like this, and then take it off and clamp it again like this, and then take it off and clamp it again like this. I could go from clamping it like this to clamping it like this, and it's done. So on a big horizontal tombstone, which is a term for a block of metal where you bolt a lot of parts. Typically they're vertical, but on a 4th axis setup they go horizontal, and you rotate them. So that would be that's an option which I'm probably going to explore. My problem is I'm looking for high spindle speed machines. So I'm looking for 10,000 plus RPM spindle speeds because the tooling I'm using is really small. In order to get any kind of decent cycle time out of them and preserve tool life, you need to run those things at high RPMs to get, you know, a good material removal rate out of them. And it keeps your times down so that you can, instead of it taking 20 minutes to do one deck, it takes you 5. You know, so you could do 4 times as many. So we'll see how it all pans out. I don't know. I may start with the mill, get that going because I'm more familiar with them. I'm used to them, and then look at getting a lathe. I'm not sure yet. We'll see. We'll see. But that's where I'm at right now. Again, I should have parts next week. If all goes well, I should have parts next week. Which means I'll be able to start the assembly process and the QC process and all that towards the end of the week next week. And then we'll see how it goes from there. I don't know. But again, I appreciate everybody's patience and hanging in there with me. We're getting there. We're getting closer. I know it kind of feels like I'm saying the same thing in every one of these updates, but it's just what it is. When I know something, you know something. Unfortunately, it seems to be the same thing these last few updates, so, you know. It's just kind of the nature of the beast. But yeah, I guess I'll cut it off here. It's been we're almost at a half hour now, so yeah, we'll just chill with it right here, and that's what I got. So yeah, hopefully next time you see me do this, I'll be putting parts together. Appreciate it, Gringo. Yeah, so you guys take care, have a great weekend, and everybody go hug your mamas. Give her a smooch on the cheek. Say, I love you, Mom. And we'll see you next time. Later.